There's about 150 to 200 people that live here in the village. They have electricity run by a generator. So for 4 hours a night, a diesel generator is turned on to get electricity. They have a well right here where people have to come and pull water up to take water to their house.
It's not we can live in peace side by side, because they don't want to live in peace. They want everything for themselves. So if we don't have the soldiers, we don't have the army, and unfortunately we don't have the fence, they'll come and kill us.
Israel likes to present itself as a Western democracy. But in fact, the whole concept of Judaization would be a racist concept. I mean, imagine you want to waspify Des Moines. Here, the idea is no, this country belongs to us. It belongs to one particular group. And the other group has no claims and no real rights. And therefore, to Judaize Jerusalem, of course we're Judaizing Jerusalem. That's the whole point. We're Judaizing the entire country.
I almost say tongue-in-cheek when I refer to Efrat, which is the name of this town, as a West Bank settlement, because technically and geographically it's a settlement and it's on the West Bank. On the other hand, there's settlements and there's settlements. And many of us, including me, didn't choose Efrat because it's the West Bank or because it's a settlement, but because it's a nice town with good schools and a resale value on the house. Very yuppie values, I guess, and it's a very yuppie town.
The wall is taking, and the settlement taking more than 2,300 dunum from our land. It's around 60% from Bil'in land. And the wall is shown the problem more pure. That it's not, the wall is not for security reasons, it's for increasing the settlements. We must say no. We said the no by non-violent struggle. Now we are doing usually demonstration every week. And this action today is the continuous of our struggle. We start to build our center. It's a center for peace. And we declare it will stay forever here in this land. مش الكفار بالعين كان مالك ارتاح شو اني شو رتيش نحن كنت مركز شيلانو بو بيم يشبع ياتا بيلانو مركز شلميده زي شيلانو نحن رجون ماذا رجون معنا معك مشتغل معنا شلوم اوكي. We asked the settlers why they are here, and some of them said that it's cheaper than Tel Aviv. And this was surprising. It's for money. They tell us purely that they are coming here because it's for money, and they know that it's not their land.
There's a very clear connection between settlement expansion plans and the separation barrier route, which again demonstrates that we're not talking about a security barrier, we're talking about a political border. Our research shows that in many areas where there is significant kind of straying from the original Green Line, the reason is either current settlements or maintaining areas that are kind of slated for future settlement building. Israeli construction companies can take over and develop areas in the West Bank for Israelis to live in. And of course, in order for those projects to go ahead, they have to be separated from the West Bank and de facto, of course, annexed to Israel by the separation barrier, because it seems very clear at the moment that the future border is linked to the separation barrier. The second thing is that in many cases, in order to expand settlements, they're actually chosen sometimes routes that are inferior, that can be targeted very easily from the Palestinian side. And in many cases, the areas where they call buffer zones, they actually have plans on filling those spaces with settlements. It demonstrates very clearly the desire to annex as much territory as possible via the barrier.
We take people who come over from the States and Canada into a settlement and talk to a settler. The one we've been going to in the last year or so, he's from the States, and he came here in the 80s. In the 60s, he was marching in the civil rights movement and everything. So we asked him, well, what about the human rights of the Palestinians? And he said, well, let me tell you the history. He says, in 1948, the United Nations created Israel, and half of the country was for the Palestinians, and they refused and went to war. They lost the war. Game over.
This is the first settlement to be designated a city, already by Sharon in 1979. This is an economic settlement. This is a place, you can see the building is very high quality. So it's a nice place to live, 5 minutes from Jerusalem. People here do not consider themselves settlers. It's not ideological like the Gaza people. Religious people that say we're in the land of Israel and it's ours. These are simply people that bought high quality houses at very affordable prices, subsidized by the government. So the settlement has an airport, and it has 3 colleges and the industrial area. Ma'ale Adumim extends from Jerusalem all the way to Jericho. Everything you see in front of you, all the mountains, on both sides, everything here is Ma'ale Adumim. Now, you see, it's banal. There's nothing here political. So the whole thing gets turned around. The idea is, look, if the Palestinians are going to be so unreasonable that they won't let us keep even this little dormitory suburb of 30,000 people, I mean, who are we bothering here?
وجون المستبطنين 7 واحد عليه معاه سلاح وهذلك معهمش واخذ العصا مني وتحته في قتل. الحين رموني على البلاد، رموني على البلاد. واحد جاب هالدمس وحط لي اياها هان، شدقي من هان لهان الطقم سطح الدم يشقع من هان. واحد جاب دمس قد هذا حط لي اياها هان وانا مبطوح وانا بصيح، وازعق وصيحتها منه فزعوا علي من الخربي. هان اولادي والخربي رحت على المستشفى، قعدت 4 أيام وانا في المستشفى نايم.
They have asked to be put on the power grid, has asked to have water access, and they've been denied. So you see the difference of how people are treated.
And you can see this land. It's about 35 dunams. It's belong to my family, and they took it.
And on this hill was where they ripped out the 50 olive trees, and
yeah.
where we tried replanting.
You can see here, like these are like new branches, you know. Yeah. So we planted again with the CBT, and 20 days later they came and uprooted again.